Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 5 and we would like to present our topic of research regarding the relationship between critical thinking and Cgpa of students in Uitm Puncak Alam.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Azureen BINTI Ahmad Farris. In this video, I will present the background of the study, problem statement, research objective and the research question. Firstly, the background of the study. Uitm Puncak Alam campus is one of the campuses of University Technology Mara, Selangor branch, which is located in Puncak Alam, Kuala Selangor. This campus consists of 8 faculties, which are Faculty of Pharmacy, Faculty of Business and Management, Faculty of Health Science, Faculty of Hotel and Tourism Management, Faculty of Accountancy, Faculty of Art and Design, Faculty of Education, and Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying. Next, the mission of Uitm is to enhance the knowledge and expertise of Bumiputra in all fields of study through professional programs, research work, and community service based on moral values and professional ethics. This shows that increasing the awareness to the students and the lecturers of the importance and the benefits of critical thinking itself in their learning would increase students' achievements, develops their performance, and gets better results in Cgpa. Besides, students will gain enhancement of their level of critical thinking, which definitely will help them to compete globally. Besides, critical thinking has been a critical issue in improving education in Malaysia in the career aspect. Moving on to the problem statement. For our research, our problem statement is about unemployment. The lack of critical thinking among undergraduates has become an issue to the employer where they want to hire a student that is capable of using knowledge and critical thinking skills outside their academic pursuit. Therefore, we conduct a study to identify the relationship between critical thinking and Cgpa of students in Uitm Puncak Alam. Next is research objective and research question. The first research objective is to assess the level of critical thinking of the students in Uitm Puncak Alam. Meanwhile, the second research objective is to identify the differences of Cgpa level with the student level of critical thinking. On the other hand, the research questions are what is the level of critical thinking of the students in Uitm Puncak Alam and what are the differences between the Cgpa level with the student level of critical thinking. Next, I will pass the presentation to the next presenter.
Thank you, Azureen. My name is Muhammad bin NASRUDDIN and I will proceed to literature review, research design and techniques, sampling and data collection. Firstly, critical thinking. Critical thinking can be defined as students can develop critical thinking skills naturally. However, it can also be taught and refined with the right practice and proper guidance by the educators to their students, according to Choi and Pike, 2009. Meanwhile, Cgpa can be defined as Cgpa shows the student academic performance, where it estimates the average of all course grades for all semester throughout their studies, which are stated by researcher Mutalib et al. 2019. Next, based on the past research, the relationship of Cgpa and critical thinking shows mixed result of the relationship. There is a study that shows a weak correlation between the two variables, where the students who have higher Cgpa tend to have a moderate level of critical thinking and low skills needed in developing the critical thinking, according to Noni and Abdullah, 2018. On the other hand, there is a study shows that students with higher Cgpa have higher critical thinking disposition, according to Shida, Osman, Abdullah and Ismail, 2018. Next, there are 3 main points in research method, which are research design and techniques, sampling and data collection. For research design and techniques, the aim of the study is to know whether there are any significant differences in Cgpa among students at Uitm Puncak Alam when it comes to critical thinking. This research requires a low level of interference as it interferes minimally with the normal flow of the research process. For this research, we use a clarification type of investigation as it involves gaining understanding and explaining the research problems. In terms of the time horizon, we use cross-sectional research, as this research requires looking at the data from the participants and evaluated at a single point in time for a given sample. Finally, this research used a non-contrived setting, as it research setting where the research is done in a natural environment and the environment flows naturally, not artificially made just for the sake of this research. Next is sampling. Sampling is the process of selecting the accurate representation of the group or sample from a population based on interest. For this research of Uitm Puncak Alam students or faculty were selected as a sample to this study. The technique that we use is non-probability sampling based on specific criteria. And lastly is data collection. The data has been distributed to all Uitm Puncak Alam students from all 8 faculties. The questionnaires made by Google Form was distributed to the students through WhatsApp and Telegram platforms. The sample size is 144 students and the normal response rate involving students is 80%. Therefore, we need to distribute more than 180 questionnaires. The total number of questionnaires that need to be distributed to all faculties is 23 students. As a result, the total of 141 responses has been collected in May 2021. Next, I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad Adam. Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur ATIQAH binti Muhammad Idros, and I will be present analysis and result 1. In this space, there will be 2 tests, which is reliability and normality test. First, from the reliability test result, Chromebox alpha for the variable is 0.863, which indicate an excellent level of internal consistency. Therefore, the item used to measure the variable were considered reliable. Considering the 86% of 11 items is constantly and interrelated as none of the items were suggested to be removed. The reason is all the items were used is to compute the variable. Second, as for the normality test, the result shows that the score for mean is 3.8853, median 3.9091 was almost similar value. Meanwhile, the score for kurtosis is negative 0.704, skewness 0.109 were also in the range of positive and negative 3. Therefore, the sample considered normal. This means the overall finding of the analysis conducted for the study can be generalized to the whole population. Moving on to analysis and result 2, which is demographic profile. The descriptive analysis was used to describe the characteristic of the respondent in terms of their gender, semester, Cgpa, and faculty. 164 data were collected. First, the percentage of gender, in which most respondents were female with 65%. Second, the percentage of the semester. Most of the respondents were from semester 4 with 37%. Third, the percentage of student Cgpa. Most of the respondents were in second class upper division with 57%. Lastly, the percentage of each faculty. Most of respondents were from faculty business and management with 33%. Now, I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Atiqah. Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is AINA BALQIS binti ANUAR and I will present about analysis and result 3, also discussion. As we can see in table 4.3 from number 1, the average level of Uitm Puncak Alam student critical thinking is about 3.8. This 3.8 is indicated as moderately high side as is above average. Based on overall critical thinking by the student Uitm Puncak Alam from number 2, many answered 3 to 4, which is agreed and slightly agreed. Overall, 11.6% of students slightly agreed with the critical thinking statement. Next is bar chart of the highest agreement by the student regarding critical thinking 5. This statement received the highest percentage from students who strongly agree among all of the 11 statements. Let's move on to the bar chart of the highest disagreement by the student regarding critical thinking 9. This statement received the highest percentage from students who strongly disagree among all of the 11 statements. Based on the ANOVA table 4.4, the results show that critical thinking 5 has a significant difference between the Cgpa variable and critical thinking variable. It is because the p-value 0.43 is less than 0.05 alpha. However, as a whole, Cgpa and critical thinking show there are no significant differences. This is because the p-value 0.092 is greater than 0.05 alpha. Meanwhile, the ETA is 0.036. On the other side, the f-value 0.104, which less than 1, indicates that Cgpa is not a good choice to explain the critical thinking level of Uitm Puncak Alam student. As a result, there is no relationship between Cgpa and critical thinking. Next is discussion based on findings in Chapter 4 under Research Objective 1. There are several factors on why the level of critical thinking among students is moderate. One of the factors is the students are often depending on the lecturer. Can be a reason whereby the students are having difficulty in conducting own learning itself. Due to this situation, it can hinder the student from developing critical thinking at a higher level. This can be supported with the Fadullah and Ahmad 2018 stated that the students are often satisfied when the lecturers conveys the majority of the information and note in class. Apart from that, the student lack of critical thinking skill such as interpretation, evaluation, or inference is also the factor that influence the level of critical thinking. Some of the students are too afraid to ask the question to the expert or lecturer, it can be a barrier to fostering critical thinking. As a result, the student did not get to explore the knowledge and only get the information from the expert and the lecturer. This is the reason why most of the employers often complain that the student cannot think critically. This can be supported with the statement from literature review. Ministry of Higher Education mentioned that critical thinking skills are one of the 7 skills that students must acquire during their tertiary education in Malaysia. As can be seen from the findings in Chapter 4, the overall findings for Research Objective 2 show there is no relationship between Cgpa and critical thinking. However, based on past research by Noni and Abdullah 2018, the findings of the research show there is a relationship between these two variables. Besides, another past study by Shida, Osman, Abdullah, and Ismail 2018 also show contrast results from our research. There is positive relationship between Cgpa and critical thinking, where students with higher Cgpa have higher critical thinking disposition. The reason for getting with different results is because having a high or low level of skill of problem solving, observation, decision making, and creativity would not contribute to having a higher Cgpa. This means that Cgpa is not a necessary factor that contributes to the level of critical thinking among students in Uitm Puncak Alam. Critical thinking is not something the students in Uitm Puncak Alam are born with. The level of critical thinking among students is moderately high, can also be affected by lack of training, lack of information, preconception, and time constraint. Not Cgpa. Another factor that contributes to the level of critical thinking among Uitm Puncak Alam students can be the teaching process by the lecturers and student learning style. This can be supported with past research by Fadullah and Ahmad 2018, where the researcher found that there is a positive relationship between student critical thinking level and teaching and learning. I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, AINA. My name is Siti Aisyah binti Mohamed. Now I will continue present on the implication, recommendation and conclusion. For the implication, firstly begin with university, whereby the university can construct strategy mainly focus on sports that involve critical thinking. For example, university can conduct more competition on chess sport. This is because chess sport required problem solving and decision making, as well as it can improve memory and cognitive ability, strategic thinking and attention improvement. Second is implication on lecturer, whereby they able to improve teaching and learning process style in order to attract students to think critically. For example, through demonstrator, coach, hybrid and blended style. Third is implication on the students, whereby the student need to be involved in various program and activity organized by university. Besides of join the program, students can also enhance their critical thinking by doing many activities such as reading a book, doing Sudoku and play Scrabble. Lastly is implication on nation, whereby when a student can develop high critical thinking, it enables students to represent the country and compete with other countries. At the same time, it can enhance the university ranking and produce high-quality students who can think critically and good in decision-making. Next, there are 3 suggested recommendations can be applied. Firstly, encourage project-based learning from lecturers. It is a method of teaching in which students learn by examining a difficult subject, problem, or challenge. It will emphasize students to be critical thinkers who can develop view from different perspectives that are able to solve problems and encourage students to engage in interactive thinking and think divergently. Secondly, include professional development, whereby UiTM can provide webinar, workshop or training for the lecturers to incorporate the highest critical thinking component among educators. Thus, a lecturer must show a good attitude with high critical thinking skill so that the student will obtain advantage of this specific skill. Thirdly, messy learning, whereby students can draw their conclusion through the materials such as template, guiding questions, and form of structure. Besides, support from the lecturer is very important to ensure the attempt to be done smoothly. As a result, students will be able to use this skill for a better standard of living in the future. In conclusion, for Research Objective 1, we managed to assess the level of critical thinking of the students. The average level of UiTM Puncak Alam students' critical thinking was indicated as moderately high side. This is because the value that we obtain is above the average value. Meanwhile, the Research Objective 2, there is no relationship between Cgpa and critical thinking because the significant value is higher than the significant indicator. Therefore, we cannot prove that Cgpa has anything to do with the critical thinking. More research is suggested to get clear and the most appropriate data for this relationship. That's all from us. Thank you.